Attention riders, clear the track. Riders, clear the track. Please come to the infield for a mandatory meeting. Riders, clear the track.
Any rider that has not registered, registration closes now.
What day is it? Not right.
just like that. Attention riders, please come to the official stand for a mandatory riders meeting.
Everybody, riders meeting, please come a little closer, not to yell too much. Hey, first up, thank you guys for coming tonight. Sucks. That increase.
Attention riders, the start list is posted. We will begin in 5 minutes. Attention riders. The start list was not sorted properly. We are posting a new start list. All right, riders, let's get started. Rider 278, Lachlan Holiday. Rider 278, Lachlan Holiday, please report to our infield whips. After rider 278 is rider 47, Jenna Davis. Rider 47, Jenna Davis, you are on deck. After Jenna is rider 276, Julia Nichols. 276, Julia Nichols. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Friday night Need for Speed Sprint Tournament sponsored by Oz Pizza. Oz Pizza, wonderful pizza. Please visit our sponsors after the racing. First rider is on deck and ready to go. Our first rider tonight will be Lachlan Holiday, rider number 278.
Ready? Go.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are off. Put your hands together for our first rider, rider 278, Lachlan Holiday. Lachlan will be winding it up on this, his first neutral lap. He will get the bell the next time we see him, and then he will be racing. This event is the 200-meter time trial. It is 200 meters long from the black stripe on the back straight to the start-finish line here in front of you. On the track now, racing is Jenna Davis. Jenna will be our next 200-meter rider. Lachlan enters the 200-meter time trap. He's through turn 3 and racing for the home. And Lachlan sets our fast time for the night at 12:415. Coming through the home straight now, ladies and gentlemen, Jenna Davis. She will be our next timed rider. And coming up onto the home straight is Julia Nichols. Julia Nichols, everybody put your hands together for Julia. Jenna hits the 200-meter line, starting the stopwatches here in the tower. Jenna Davis records a 13.73. Coming through the home straight now is Julia Nichols. Julia will be our next timed rider. 13.73 is the time to beat. And Julia trips the timing tape, and we are coming into turn 3 already. This looks like a pretty quick run. Julie records a 15.0. 15.0. Next on the track is Sloan Fletcher. Sloan is slowly rolling through turns 3 and 4 now. Sloan stands and kicks it off. Puts in a last big effort and hits the tape to start the clock. Sloan stops the clock at 13.93, 13.93. Coming into the home straight now, put it together for local rider Kathleen Laporte. Kathleen hits the tape, starts the clock, rolls into turn 3. Trying to hold the lane and successfully does. And records a 14.67, 14.67. Rolling through the home straight now is Charles Cerny. Charles Cerny. Charles starts the clock, dives down into the lane in 3, tries to hold it low, but he's having trouble. Charles clocks a 13.84. Winding it up down the home straight now is Quinn Shearer. Quinn Shearer, ladies and gentlemen. And give them applause, folks. Bring them home. This home straight is hard. 14.33. 14.33. Rolling through the home straight now at a pretty blistering pace is Max Ostrick of the Ostrick family. Hits the tape, stays a little high in 3 in order to hold it down better in 3 and 4, and he does so successfully. Drives up the uphill finish for a 13.58. 13.58. Tori and Tandy rolls through on the home straight now. Sounds like Torian is popular. Torian stands up for his last acceleration, cranks it through the tape, and it's running down the back straight hard. Successfully holds the lane through 3 and 4. That's a struggle here at Dick Lane. Drives to the finish for a 13.41. Slowly rolling out of 4 is Steve Asenbrock. It's really fun to watch the differences in the approach to winding up for a 200. Some riders who have a little bit better jump, maybe not as much endurance, just kind of hold it, and then jump and accelerate really hard. And Steve records a 14.41. Now, illustrating the difference in styles, here comes Johnny Rhodes, a local favorite, really cranking it down the home straight. Johnny hits a timing tape, holds a little high going into 3 so he can hold it down through turns 3 and 4, does so successfully. You can tell he's ridden a lot of 200s here. Johnny records a 13.50. Jonathan Agee rolls through the home straight now. Picks it up going up the hill into turn 1. Stays standing through turns 1 and 2. Sits down, stands back up, and cranks it for his final acceleration. Enters turn 3 a little low. Let's see if he can hold it. And he struggles with it, but he does. And records our fastest 200 of the night so far, 12.55. Second. Jonathan DeGioia comes through now. Correction on my lap. Correction on my last. That was not the fastest 200. We have a 12.42 on the boards from our first rider, Lachlan Holiday. Jonathan DeGioia drives it up the home straight for the finish. And records a 13.90. Patrick Gerhardt rolls down the hill and up to the home straight. Patrick Gerhardt gets sat down early and down into the lane quickly. Comes through 3 and 4. And records a 14.48. 14.48. Sergio Elise rides up the home straight now. He winds it up for his 200. And Sergio records a 14.21. Put it together for Amelia Hicks. Amelia Hicks' turn for a 200 now. Amelia stands up and kicks it for her final acceleration. Stays pretty high, goes into 3 and 4 and handles the lane just fine. Drives up the home straight for a 14.82. Into the home straight now comes Madeline Pierce racing for the Piedmont College cycling team. Madeline waits until the last minute and accelerates seated, using the downhill straight to accelerate to the lane. Rolls up the home straight, drives for the finish line. 15.23, 15.23. Ladies and gentlemen, put it together for Elijah Hughley. Elijah Hughley. Elijah's really got it cooking early. Stands for his final acceleration, hits the 200 tape. Sits down going into 3. Takes a really good line through 3 and 4. This one's cooking, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, a new fast time, 12:05, 12.05 for Elijah Hughley. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're on the net much for cycling at all, you know Trish Albert. She runs Southeastern Cycling, longtime supporter of the track. Trish rolls into 1 for her 200. Trish waits and jumps hard and heads down the back straight. Stays a little low for turns 3 and 4. We'll see how she handles this. Paints the black line pretty well. Drives for the home straight and does a 15.07, 15.07. The next of the Ostrich clan, Annalise, comes rolling through the home straight. Annalise has got it wound up early too. Stands up for her final acceleration. Holds it up pretty high. Dives down into 3. Uses that inertia to hold her line low through the turns. Low is good. Drives up the home straight. 13.63. 13.63 for Annalise Ostrich. Folks, here comes somebody I've never seen not smiling. Sophie Zentz rolls through the home straight. She's probably smiling right now. Sophie stands up for her final acceleration, drops down the banking. Goes into turn 3 right at the red line. Drives up the home straight. And records a 14.76, 14.76 for Sophie Zentz. Next up, Masters racer Michael Gibson. Michael takes the high line into 3 to drive down into the lane. Holds the lane. Drives to the home straight for a 14.57, 14.57. Now we're getting into the fast guys, folks. Here comes number 159, Layman Wright. Let's see if we get a new PB. Layman winds it up really early. Stays really, really high down the back straight, drops into the lane. This one looks like it's going pretty quick. We might have a new fast time. Let's see. Drives to the finish line and 11.78. That is a new fast time for tonight, 11.78. The last of the O-Strikes, Nick Ostrike. multiple-time national champion at a variety of events. Nick's got it really cooking early. Stands up going into one. He has got it really cranking going through 2 and 3. Pushing that big gear as hard as he can. Stays high into 3. Low through 4. Listen to the effort coming through. For an 11.36. 11.36. I think that's Nick's fastest time this year. Ladies and gentlemen, put together for Cody Parker. Cody Parker's going into his 200. Gets it wound up down the back straight, sits down going into turn 3. Takes a good line through turns 3 and 4, manages the bump in 4, drives up the home straight for a 13.38, 13.38. Ladies and gentlemen, Chad Conley coming through now. Put it together for Chad. Chad makes that big bike creak going through turns 1 and 2 and down the back straight. Winding it up, gets sat down early. Takes a good line through 3 and 4, manages the bump in 4 and drives for the start-finish line. 12.47, 12.47. He's from Minnesota, but we like him anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Young coming through the home straight now. Let's see if he can knock Nick off the top of the mountain. Aaron really cranks it, holds the line high down the back straight, takes an aggressive dive down into 3 in order to hold the line. Really cranking it up the home straight. He had a fast time in Minnesota last week. Tonight he has a 11.54, just misses. Second seed so far. Oh yeah, put it together. It's double barrel Daryl. Daryl winds it up down the back straight, holds it up high. This seems to be the voting line for the fast guys tonight. Holds turns 3 and 4 just fine. Cranks it up the home straight. Let's see what we got. 11.62. 11.62. Ladies and gentlemen, the coach of the Piedmont cycling team. This guy and I go back a long ways because he's old, but he ain't slow. Jamie J. Carney. He drives it up the home straight. And 11.88 ain't bad for a 50-year-old. Last rider of the night, coming onto the home straight now, rider 281, Sam Rideout. This will be our last rider for the 200s. Let's see what Sam can do. Can he go faster than his coach? Sam winds it up, hits the line, the clock is running. Every second is an eternity. When you get to the home straight, every second is even more of an eternity. Sam hits the start-finish line. and records a 13.05. 13:05. And that's it for our 200. We'll have times posted shortly. Riders, attention riders, open track for approximately 10 minutes. Riders, if you want track time, 10 minutes, open track. Attention riders, attention riders. We are getting ready to post times. We are getting ready to post times. When we do, we will be also calling to the boards the 5-lap sprint rep for men. Women, you do not have a 5-lap sprint rep. All the women qualified. So the first race up, once we get the times posted and the heats posted, will be the 5-lap sprint rep for men. Also, attention C riders, we are combining you with the B field because there are only 3 of you. So C riders, you will be doing all of the B races. Attention riders, times are posted. Times are posted. Men, if you're not in the top 9, you're going to be in the sprint rep coming up immediately. So please check times. Make sure you're in the top 9. If you're not, you better get on your bike, get ready to get to the boards. Attention riders, please keep in mind, we are eliminating all of the C category races. That means the schedule is going to tighten up, so please be paying attention to the race order. C races are combined with Bs. Cs, you are combining with Bs. All the C races will be scratched off the schedule. Attention male riders, I am going to announce the top 9 sprinters from the 200. If you do not hear your name, get on your bike, get ready to the boards. Our top seeds, Nick Ostrick. Second seed is Aaron Young. Third seed is Daryl Christopher. Fourth seed is Layman Wright. Fifth seed is Jamie Carney. Sixth seed is Elijah Hughley. Seventh seed is Lachlan Holiday. Eighth seed is Chad Conley. Ninth and final seated rider is Jonathan Agee. You did not hear your name in the list, men's riders. Please get on your bikes and get ready for a scratch rep. All non-seated men's riders, please report to the boards for a 5-lap sprint rep. All unseated men's riders. If you're not in the top 9, you are not seated. Please report to the boards for a 5-lap scratch sprint rep. Last call for men's rep. Last call for men's rep. Please report to the boards. Ladies and gentlemen in the studio audience, what you are watching is a sprint repechage race. All of the riders who did not qualify in the top 9 are racing for one last place in the sprint tournament. One rider from this 5-lap race will advance back into the sprint tournament. And we are racing, 5 to go. One rider. Three-quarters of a lap into the race and not anybody wanting to venture out too quickly. 4 laps is a long way to the finish line if 20 people are chasing you. See a lot of heads swiveling around in the group there, wondering who's going to make the first move and when. Looks like we have some activity in the bottom. Nobody really wants to sit on the front at a high rate of speed right now. 3 laps to go, 3 laps to go. Have to wonder if somebody's going to get adventurous here. 2 laps is not all that far. It looks like we have somebody going at the front now. 2 to go, and we have an attack underway from the Piedmont College cycling team. Sam Rideout's got about a 35-meter gap. Not much chasing going on back there. A lot of guys just kind of casually pedaling. 1 to go, 1 to go. The gap's up to about 40 meters. Can Sam hold this and work his way back into the sprint tournament? I don't know. That gap has gotten bigger, not smaller. Johnny Rhodes decides to light it up, try and chase him down. Is it too late? Johnny's screaming down the back straight with one of Sam Rideout's teammates right on his wheel. They're coming around in the home straight. It looks like Sam Rideout is going to hold it and get back into the sprint tournament. Rider 281 advances with an attack from 2 laps out. Rider, go to the grass. Go to the grass, Rider. Riders, we're working on the heats now, and we'll have heats posted in about 5 minutes. Riders, pay attention. Andy Bailey is walking down with the heats for the men's and the women's sprint tournament now. Please check the board for your heats. Attention, women's rider number 1, you have a bye in the first heat.
Sit back down now.
Ladies riders, your sprints will be up first. So as soon as you see your heats, please report on deck to the front of the official stand. Yep. Riders in heat number 2, riders 47 and 21, please report to the official on the home straight at the base of the stand. Riders 242 and 57, you are on deck in heat 3. 242 and 57 on deck. Riders 47 and 21, you are up. Riders, if you could please bring a holder or find a volunteer to hold you, that would be of great assistance. Thank you. Riders 47 and 21, please report. It's time for sprinting. Riders 47 and 21 are up on deck. Women's riders 242 and 57. Riders 242 and 57, you are on deck. Please be ready to go. All mine. Our first women's heat is getting ready for match sprinting. They've drawn lots and chosen position on the track. The lead rider will have to lead for the first half of a lap, unless the trailing rider overtakes her. Riders have received their instruction and roll out, and we are racing. Madeline Pierce is rider 21. She's low on the track below the blue line, looking back up over her shoulder at Jenna Davis, who's stalking from the top and dives down towards the bottom of the track and decides not to go under but over. Goes over Madeline around turns 2, dives into the lane. And Jenna Davis looks like she has had an overpowering attack here and comes through for the win. Will advance into the next round. Riders 242 and 57, you are up. Women's riders 93 and 276, you are on deck. Riders 242 and 57, you are up to sprint. 93 and 276 on deck. We have in this heat Sloan Fletcher and Trish Albert. Trish is on the top of the track in the orange Sorella cycling uniform. Sloan is on the bottom in her Piedmont College cycling kit. Riders roll out having received their instructions. Sloan leading. Trish rolls high up the track. Riders 93 and 276 to the ready area, please. 93 and 276. Sloan continues to ride around just below the blue line and just under Trish. Trish has the high position. Sloan keeps an even pace to keep Trish from being able to dive down. What's going to happen here? Bell lap. Sloan continues to hold Trish high. Trish jumps, tries to accelerate over the top. Sloan continues to hold her up high on the track, dives down into the lane and into turn 3. Trish drops behind as they drop into 3. Can Trish make a run at Sloan's wheel? Sloan runs up the home straight. Little bobble coming out of 4. We'll see what the officials say about that. But it looks like Sloan has won this heat. Riders 93 and 276 to the ready area, please. 93 and 276. Riders 34 and 158 for the ladies is our last women's heat. Next up are Kathleen Laporte and Julia Nichols. Kathleen is on the top, having won the draw and selected the top position. Received their instructions from the official. We're racing. Julia has to lead the first half lap at a walking pace unless Kathleen overtakes her. Julia rolls around just below the blue line, carefully watching Kathleen and what Kathleen might be doing. Kathleen continues to stay high, drops down a little bit going into the turn, but rides back towards the rail. Julia continues to try and control and stay low. Kathleen drops back a little. We get the bell. Both riders are accelerating. Julia takes the lane. Kathleen drops in behind her in the slipstream. We'll see if Kathleen can take a run at her coming down the back straight. Kathleen winds it up. Remember, she's in the draft. She has an aerodynamic advantage back there. She gets a little bit of speed going, but is it enough to carry her around? Up the home straight, Julia still leads. Kathleen's closing. It's going to be tight. And the officials say rider 276, Julia Nichols, wins and advances. Women's riders Sophie Zentz and Amelia Hicks are on the line now. Sophie Zentz, Amelia Hicks, riders 34 and 158. Please report to the official. Riders 34 and 158, please report to the home straight start-finish line area. Men, attention men, Heat 1 is up next. Riders 31 and 281, 31 and 281. Nick Ostrike, our top seed, and rider 281, the winner of our 5-lap scratch race of death. Having received our instructions, our last women's heat rolls off. Looks like Amelia has decided to take over the front. Attention riders, scratch that last. Next up is BC scratch race. B and C riders, you are up next for a scratch race. Coming into turn 4. Amelia accelerates a little bit. Sophie is covering underneath her. Amelia continues to accelerate down the blue line. Sophie is trailing a couple bike lengths down in the lane, perhaps waiting to see if she takes the lane. Amelia takes the lane. That commits her to the lane for the rest of the race. Sophie accelerates at her rear wheel. Looks like she's going to try and execute a pass through turns 3 and 4. Riders have really wound it up, and here we go. It's another drag race. Yelling helps. And rider 34, Sophie Zentz, takes it from the back. B and C riders, watch the riders finishing coming off the track, but please report to the boards. B and C riders, please report to the boards for a 5-lap scratch race. Attention men sprinters, you are up after this race. I never grab one for. And we've rolled off the boards. The riders are hanging together in a group. If they're together coming out of turn 4, they'll get the whistle to race. And we are racing. 5 to go, riders, 5 to go. And it looks like we have some early action with 3 riders trying to do something off the front here. Everything comes back together on the home straight. We are rolling with 3.5 laps to go. Nick Ostrike and Sam Rideout. Nick Ostrike and Sam Rideout, be ready to go right after this race finishes. You are our first sprint heat. 3 to go. Riders looking around, waiting to see who's going to try to do what. Time is winding down for the endurance riders in the field. There's only 2.25 laps to go. Pretty soon it'll be a sprinting game. 2 to go, and we are just casually rolling around now. And we have someone coming over the top looking like he might be interested in going from 500 out. You get the bell, field's getting stretched out, things are winding up. Looks like Max Ostrike's sitting right up there at the front, and Mac's going to take over and try to go for an entire lap. Max goes, and we're in a sprint. It's a 3-up sprint for the win. Who's going to pull this off? Max looks like he takes it. Nick Ostrike, Sam Rideout. Nick Ostrike, Sam Rideout, please report to the official stand. You are our first men's heat. On deck. On deck. Aaron Young and Jonathan Agee. Jonathan Young and Aaron Agee, or Jonathan Agee, you are on deck. Aaron Young, Jonathan Agee on deck. Nick and Sam to the official stand for your race, please. Air will be down in just a sec. Remember, riders, please bring a holder to the line with you if you can. Attention women's riders, after the 5 men's sprint heats, there will be a women's 5-lap scratch after the men's sprint heats, and we're off and racing. Nick Ostrike's got the lead. Our repechage rider, lucky number 281, is out there with him. Top seed and the lottery winner going at it. Nick's got it going at a pretty quick pace. Nick rides a pretty good beer. Ride out drops in the lane, starts to go from overlap out. Nick cruises over the top of him, make sure he's clear, drops down into the lane, looks back to make sure that he's gonna take this. And showing his top qualifying speed, Nick Ostrike rolls through the home straight area and takes the first heat and advances. Aaron Young and Jonathan Agee, please see the official. You are up. On deck, currently Daryl, Christopher, and Chad Conley. Daryl and Chad, please be in the ready area. You are up next. Daryl and the Chad. Layman Wright and Lachlan Holiday, be ready. Layman Wright and Lachlan Holiday, you are up after Daryl and Chad. And our second heat is off. Jonathan Agee rolls off, taking the lead. Aaron Young sitting behind him. Aaron spent last week up in Blaine, Minnesota, doing one of the last races ever at the National Sports Center Velodrome before they tear it down. Aaron makes a move, drops down into the lane, pulls back out. The sprint hasn't been engaged yet, so he can do that. But now he's sitting on the front and looking to see what Jonathan Agee is going to think about that. Jonathan gets back under him in a controlling position. Aaron can't drop down straight to the lane now because Jonathan's in his way. That's why the lower position can be a controlling position. Aaron tries to intimidate Jonathan a little bit. Jonathan doesn't look like he's having anything of it. Continues to control Aaron all the way up to the rail. Aaron accelerates and gets over the top of Jonathan. Jonathan just didn't have quite enough kick to keep up with him. Aaron runs in through 3-4, holds the lane easily. Will he finish this out? Jonathan's trying to close, but can't quite get there. Some good racing from those folks. Next up, we've got Daryl, Double Barrel Daryl, and the Chad. 2 local favorites. Maybe we should make them arm wrestle first. The crowd says arm wrestling, gentlemen. Looks like Daryl's going to have the obligation of the lead. Chad's going to have the high position. Let's see how this one plays out. Chad's been pursuing a heavy road schedule this year. See if that hurts his quickness against Daryl. Riders 159 and 278. Layman Wright and Lachlan Holiday, you are up next. Please report to the ready area. Layman Wright and Lachlan Holiday. We're rolling on this third sprint heat. Chad's accelerating over the top. Daryl decides he just wants to sit in the draft for a little while. Chad rolls back up to the top. Daryl rolls underneath him, continues to control him a little bit. Chad takes a dive and goes right down to the lane again. And now we're sprinting. Daryl just sits right there patiently in the draft, waiting to see what Chad is going to do. If I were Chad, I'd be going about 70% right now, just holding a little back for when Daryl tried to come over the top like he's doing now. And here comes Chad and Daryl. It's going to be a drag race. Daryl quickly gets over the top coming out of the corner. And that's what explosion will do for you, folks. You can make those quick little attacks like that. 350-mile weeks are an excuse, not a reason. Layman Wright and Lachlan Holiday, you are up. And on the track, on deck, Jamie Carney and Elijah Hughley. And we are rolling in our men's fourth heat. Layman Wright and Lachlan Holiday. I'll put my glasses on here and try and get numbers from over here. Layman Wright is on the front in the yellow helmet, folks. Lachlan Holiday stalks him about 2 bike lengths back, pranks himself right up against the boards, try to put a crick in Layman's neck. But Layman's a young kid. He can handle that okay. Sorry, I've had a name correction. Layman snakes back and forth, starts accelerating. Lachlan stays on his wheel in the draft. Layman keeps cranking it, still out of the saddle, hits his saddle down the back straight, sits down, gets into an arrow tuck, and tries to just rip it all the way to the line. Lachlan's holding on back there, but he's just not able to muster anything to close the gap. Up now is our last men's heat. Jamie, J-Carney, and Elijah Hughley. Jamie's done this once or twice, maybe 3 times. I remember Jamie Carney at Collegiate Nationals in T-Town in 1989. He won the sprint tournament there that year. Jamie has the instructions explained to him that he could probably tell Gary in his sleep. He rolls off, casually sits on the front. Jamie Carney rolls into a track stand, forces Elijah to the front. Don't see many track stands nowadays. And then Jamie rolls all the way up to the rail. Potential energy, it's not just a concept in physics, folks. You have a lot of energy stored when you're all the way up at the rail. It's energy you don't have to use to accelerate. Elijah's got his neck cranked back to watch what the old man back there is doing. What's crafty Jamie Carney going to come up with to fool? He's going to stay high at the rail, and he's going to drop underneath and get to the lane, beats Elijah to the lane. Now Elijah's on the back and is going to have to figure out a way to pass Jamie Carney. He's riding really close, which is a disadvantage when you're trying to come around somebody. Can he pull it off up the home straight? He's trying. It's going to be close. Jamie bobbles at the line. Oh, what are the officials going to say about that? And the officials said 132, Jamie Carney takes the heat and advances into the quarterfinals. Women, report to the boards. Women racing in the 5-lap scratch, please report to the boards. You are up. Women's racers to the rail for a 5-lap scratch. Following will be the men's repechage, the winner of which will be seated 6th. Attention men sprinters, the 5 men who lost their heat are up after this scratch race for a 3-lap repechage. Men's sprinters, be ready. Men's repechage riders 281, 145, 32, 278, and 131. Our women's 5-lap scratch rolls off the boards. If they're together coming out of turn 4, we'll be racing. Heat. Wrap. Attentions, men's repechage. Men's repechage riders 281, 145, 32, 278, and 131. Basically, if you lost your sprint heat, you're in the rep. And the women are racing with 4 to go. 4 to go, women, 4 to go. And this field is getting scattered because there's a couple of burners really cranking it on the front. Looks like we've cemented back together a main field of 6 riders. Content to stay together and work for now. When they come around again, it'll be 2 to go. Riders at the back are desperately trying to claw their way back on. Yes. With 2 to go, we still have the same 6 riders taking turns on the front, keeping away from the riders that they've already dropped. Oh, now we're getting a little discord as we decide what to do with 1.5 to go. Looks like things are slowing down as everybody decides to test and figure out how good their sprinting legs are working. Coming through on the bell, that is Annalise Ostrike leading out the front. We'll see if anybody has the firepower to get back up there to her. She's established about a 10-meter gap. Looking around to see how hard everyone's coming. Watch rider in turn 4. Rider's coming over you. Looks like that one's going to Annalise Ostrike after a devastating 1-lap sprint. Annalise did not have a sprint heat, so maybe she's warming up her legs for her first opponent. Men's repechage riders, please report to the boards. Watch the riders finishing and coming into the infield, but men's repechage riders, please report to the boards. After the men finish up, women's repechage riders will be up. Women, if you lost your sprint heat, you are in the rep. I will call numbers shortly, but women, if you lost your sprint heat, you are in the rep. We should have 5 men's riders on the board. We had 5 sprint heats, 5 winners, and 5 second place finishers. And if you ain't first, you last. Riders receive their instructions. This will be a 3-lap repechage scratch heat. Gary, the official, rolls them off the boards, and we're racing. It's 3 to go. A lot of strategy and a 5 up. Usually, as a general rule in these large rep heats like this, you don't want to be the lead rider, and you don't want to be the last rider. We'll see how everybody plays these tactics out as we start to roll through the home straight with 2 to go. Two to go, riders, 2 to go. Looks like we have an attack developing from a rider who qualified through the rep the last time. Will he do it twice? It worked last time he went from 2 laps out. He's on the attack, seeing if he can get another rep win under his belt. 4 riders behind him. 2 of them are trying to work together to get back up there. He gets the bell. He's got a 15-meter gap. It's not as big as last time. Let's see what happens. Chad Conley's going really hard on the back. And all 4 riders are going to say, nope, it's time to sprint. Thanks for gassing yourself out. Here we come. Who's going to pick this up? It looks like it's going to be a 3-wide sprint. 3 across, coming to the line, and .278 takes the win and earns his way back into the sprint tournament. Lachlan Holiday goes back in to the quarterfinals of the sprint tournament as the 6th seeded rider. He'll face Nick Ostrike. Man, that's a tough one. Women's repechage riders, riders 21, 57, 93, and 158. Please report to the boards for your rep. Women's repechage riders, if you lost your sprint heat, you should be heading to the rail right now. Women's riders to the rail, riders 21, 57, 93, and 158. This is the 3-lap repechage. One rider will advance back into the sprint tournament. Appears that we're having a mechanical issue in the infield here as we wait for rider 93, Kathleen Laporte. Is that man working on your bike a qualified mechanic? Kathleen, if that is a carbon bike, 3 words for you: carbon assembly paste. You're good. And we roll off for a 3-lap scratch race. 3-lap scratch race. And we are already racing. Kathleen Laporte just rolls right off the line and goes on the attack. Madeline Pierce caught right up to her, went over the top, and is now leading the race. Just slowly rolling around on the front, trying to keep the pace kind of high. Kathleen cranks it up the back, goes over the top with 1 to go. This is a big attack. Let's see if anybody can cover it. Kathleen continues to open a gap, about 25 meters now. He rolls down the back straight. Doesn't look like anybody's going to seriously try to challenge this. The gap continues to open as Kathleen hits the home straight. Apparently, the mechanical problems are fixed, and she rolls through and takes the repechage and works her way back into the sprints. Aren't you glad we didn't just go ahead, Kathleen? Attention, men's riders, A riders, A riders, please report to the rail for a 5-lap scratch. Men's A riders, we have a 5-lap scratch. Women's sprinters, please be ready. You are up after this race. This is a 5-lap scratch. We will have your pairings up shortly. Riders roll off on a neutral lap. If they're together coming out of turn 4, our referee will blow the whistle indicating the race has begun. Hopefully nobody gets too itchy on the front or too lazy on the back. And we are racing. Riders will get 5 to go when they come through the start finish. Attention women's riders, attention women's sprinters. I have your heats. Heat 1, rider number 1 and rider number 93. Heat 1, rider number 1 and rider number 93. Heat number 2, rider number 47 and rider number 34. Rider number 47, rider number 34 is heat 2. You're on deck. The pursuit siren is lit, and the men's A field lights it up. 3 to go, men, 3 to go. Mr. Carney is cruising on the front. They've been posted. Men's and women's sprinters, pairings are posted for the next round. Pairings are posted. Women, you are on deck after this race. Annalise and Kathleen, you are our first heat. In heat 1, riders 47 and 34, you are in heat 2. And then rider 242 and 276 are the last heat. The men's lit it up. It's a 4-wide sprint going into turn 3. Looks like it's stretching out a little. And it looks like Daryl Christopher and Aaron Young with Nick Ostrich rounding out the top 3. That was a scorcher and probably a good preview of some of our sprinting we have coming up. But first, we have the women. Women's sprint quarterfinal, heat number 1. Annalise Ostrike and Kathleen. Annalise and Kathleen, please report to the official. Heat number 2, Jenna Davis and Sophie Zentz, be ready. Heat number 2, Jenna Davis and Sophie Zentz, be ready. Working our first heat up onto the track. On the bottom is Kathleen Laporte, who earned her way back into the sprint tournament with a victory in the sprint rep. Annalise is our fastest rider of the night. She's apparently won the draw and chosen the top position. And we're racing, 2 to go. Both riders content to just continue at a little bit faster than a walking pace. As we roll down the back straight to 1.5 to go, Kathleen Laporte has rolled out to just a little bit of a lead as Annalise slows down a little bit so that there's some gap. Now Kathleen's reacting to that and slowing down herself to try to close that gap back up a little bit. And we have an attack. Kathleen drops down into the lane, closes the lane to Annalise. Annalise comes up over her and continues to pass through turn 1 and looks to be really fast tonight. She quickly opens a gap going down the back straight, but Kathleen tries to respond to that, tries to close down now that she's in the slipstream, but just doesn't have enough to get there. Annalise looks around, makes sure that she's got the race in the bag, and cruises through the start-finish line and takes it and moves on to the semifinals. Next up, we have Jenna Davis and Sophie Zentz. On deck, Sloan Fletcher and Julia Nichols. Sloan Fletcher and Julia Nichols, please report to the ready area. Jenna and Sophie roll out. Looks like Jenna has drawn the lead position. Teammates, they should know each other pretty well. This should be interesting. Both riders content to just take it slow at the beginning of the race. Looks like Jenna has rolled up to the rail and Sophie is covering underneath her to make sure that she can't just drop straight down into the lane. She'll get to see Jenna start to work the speed up. In sprinting, the bottom position can be a controlling position if you're in a position like this, because you can see everything the rider, your opponent is doing when you're in the bottom position. The rider can't make a sneak attack down to the lane because you're in the way. You get the bell. Sophie continues to control. And Sophie goes, drops down into the lane. Jenna jumps right onto her wheel. Sophie continues to accelerate out of turn 2, down the back straight. Jenna's going over the top. It's going to be a drag race down the back straight. Try and get into the lane in turn 3, and Jenna gets there, goes over the top of Sophie and establishes control of the lane, opens a gap with a big attack down the back straight. Our last heat rolls up onto the track. We have Sloan Fletcher and Julia Nichols, also teammates. You always wonder what Coach Carney does in a position like this. Sloan on top will have the advantage of being able to take the back position. Julia Nichols leads out the last of the women's quarterfinal heats. Men's sprinters, be ready. Heat number 1, Nick Ostrick and Lachlan Holiday. Nick Ostrike and Lachlan Holiday is heat 1. Be ready. You are on deck now. Nick Ostrike, Lachlan Holiday to the ready area. On deck now, Aaron Young and Jamie Carney. Julia continues to cover down, controls Sloan from underneath. Interesting to me that most of the riders who find themselves in the upper position tonight have been content to just stay there and not do anything. But the bell rings, and that means it's time to sprint. Sloan jumps and goes right over the top. And Julia just doesn't have the power to stay with her. Sloan looks around to see where her opponent is, 20 meters behind you. Through turns 3 and 4, and absent a mechanical, is going to take this heat and advance into the semifinals. Men's riders, men's sprinters. Heat number 1, Nick Ostrike, Lachlan Holiday. Heat number 2, Aaron Young, Jamie Carney. Heat number 3, Daryl Christopher and Lamin Wright. We can please have Aaron and Jamie start to work their way towards the ready area, please, to be ready to go. While Nick and Lachlan take their places. Looks like Nick has drawn the bottom position. Get their instruction from our official Gary Morgan. By now, I'm sure everybody has this speech memorized. And we are racing. Lachlan goes right from the gun. In the old days, this would be called kiloing a rider because tracks were typically 333 meters and 3-lap sprints were the rule. But now with 2 laps, it's not quite a kilo. Nick gets right on his wheel and just continues right over the top, looks around, says, I'm just going to cruise, and I'm just going to keep cruising. Lachlan tries to get back. Nick re-accelerates as he goes into 3-4. Come out of the turn. Lachlan just can't get there. Aaron Young and Jamie Carney make their way up onto the track. Daryl Christopher and Lamin Wright, please be in the ready area. Daryl Christopher and Lamin Wright, please report to the ready area. You are our last heat and are on deck. Attention, women's riders. Attention, women's riders. No? Attention women sprinters, women who are in, the three ladies who are in the repechage, riders 93, 34, and 276. If you lost your sprint quarterfinal, you are in the repechage up next. This should be an interesting race. Aaron's really fast. Jamie's not exactly slow, but has probably about 30 more years of racing experience. All right, 25. Jamie will be mad at me because I overaged him there, but he is in an age bracket starting with a 5 now. Aaron slaloms around behind him. Jamie slows down the race to a crawl just to see if Aaron might be interested in getting on front. Hops his bike around a little bit to do another track stand. Remember, we saw Jamie do this in the first heat. This will be interesting because the rules say that this stand can only last 30 seconds and then the official will blow his whistle and direct the riders to continue to roll. But Jamie says, okay, yeah, Aaron, you can do a track stand. Cool. Let's go back up to the rail. Riders get the bell. The pace picks up a little bit. Aaron dives down, doesn't take the lane, just holds Jamie Carney back up, pushes him back up to the rail. Jamie starts to accelerate, and we're going to drag race. Jamie's got a lot of acceleration. Takes the lane. Aaron sits on his wheel. Can Aaron come around? The drag race up the home straight, and Jamie's going to hold him off. That's experience, folks. Women's rep riders, be ready. You're up next. Currently taking the line is Daryl Christopher and Lamin Wright for our last men's heat. Women's sprinters, repechage final, riders 93, 34, and 275. Please make your way to the ready area, hopefully with a holder. Riders 93, 34, and 276 to the ready area for your repechage. And we roll off our last sprint heat of the night. This one's going to be exciting. Men's a big up-and-coming talent. Daryl's been around a little while. Once again, we established that position we've seen a lot of tonight with the rider trapped up top against the rail. Ladies and men sprinters, they are going to run the rep from the rail. The official's going to run the rep from the rail. No holders are necessary. And we get the bell. Daryl drops down underneath Lamin a little bit. Lamin looks around, accelerates, says, yes, I'll take the lane, thank you. Lamin's really cranking that bike around. Daryl's just sitting comfortably behind and accelerates over the top. Lamin tries to re-accelerate and hold him on his hip. It's going to be a drag race coming up the home straight. Let's give him a round, folks. Really good sprinting from one of our young up-and-coming sprinters who's part of the sprint program here at the DLV. That's it for the men's quarterfinals. On to the women's repechage. Ladies, if we can have you to the rail, please. Watch the riders coming through. 270s. Tonight's repechage is Kathleen Laporte, Sophie Zentz, Julia Nichols. This will be a 3-lap race to determine one last rider to get back into the sprint tournament. It will go in against the number 1 seed, Annalise Ostrike. And we're off. 3 up. Two to go. It looks like we've established a little bit of a rhythm. What'll be interesting is to see who gets impatient with this first. Is Julia happy sitting on the front? Is Kathleen happy sitting on the back? Is Sophie happy sitting in the middle? Is just nobody happy with this? I don't know. We're going to be coming back around, and it looks like some antsiness is happening there. Kathleen rolls up towards the rail and tries to attack over the top. Sophie sees her coming and responds. Everybody goes right over the top of Julia. And Kathleen is really going to try and burn it down the back straight. Sophie is doing everything she can to get back on. She's got the draft, but does she have the power to get back there? Doesn't look like it. And Kathleen comes through and wins with an attack over the top with a little over 1 to go. Great job, ladies. Men's repechage, men's repechage. Please report to the board. If you lost your last sprint heat, you were in this. Riders 278, 42, and 159. 278, 42, and 159. That is Lachlan Holliday, Aaron Young, and Lamin Wright. Lachlan Holliday, Lamin Wright, and Aaron Young. Please report to the rail. Attention women's riders, attention women's riders. After this repechage, there will be a 10-lap scratch race for the women. 10-lap scratch race for the women after this repechage. Lachlan Holliday, we are waiting on you. Ladies, please be ready for your scratch race after this rep heat. Immediately after this rep heat, we will roll you up to the boards for a 10-lap scratch. Looks like Lamin wants to be all the way at the front. Aaron doesn't like the rocking chair, rolls down to the lane just to see if he can get some people moving around. Lamin stands up and maybe gets a little froggy. He's got about 15 meters. Aaron's busy watching Lachlan. Lamin continues to roll. And Lamin goes. There he goes. He just takes off. Is this a coach-coachee collusion? I'm wondering, because Aaron looks like he's just saying, I'm done for the night, while Lamin just attacks off the front and is going to bag the win. Aaron says, you know what? I coach this guy like 8 days a week and twice on Sundays. I'm not going. I'm just going to cruise around here and maybe win a scratch race later. I don't know. And then I'm going to, just to rub salt in the wound, I'm just going to go and get second place, which will be 5th place overall, but yeah, as both a coach and a former racer, I question these tactics. I'm a very Darwinian coach. I'm like, I'm racing against you. I'm going to beat you. Women's 10-lap scratch. Ladies, to the boards, please, for a 10-lap scratch. We are printing the semifinal pairings now, and we'll have them up shortly. Semifinal pairings are working their way down to be posted now. Attention women's sprinters, your pairings are posted, but I will read them to you now. In our first heat, top-seeded Annalise Ostrike against rep winner Kathleen Laporte. Annalise and Kathleen in the first heat. In our second heat, we have Jenna Davis against Sloan Fletcher. Jenna and Sloan in our second heat. Attention men's sprinters, quarterfinal pairings or semifinal pairings are posted. In our first heat, we have Nick Ostrike and Lamin Wright. Nick Ostrike and Lamin Wright. In our second heat, we have Jamie Carney and Daryl Christopher. This should be some barn burner heats here. Men's sprint riders, you will be up immediately after our women's 10-lap scratch. Men's sprint riders, again, your pairings are rider number 31, Nick Ostrike, and Lamin Wright in our first heat, and rider number 132, Jamie Carney, against rider number 90, Daryl Christopher, in our second heat. With 8 laps to go in our women's scratch race, it looks like the field is staying together fairly well. Men's sprints are up next. Seven to go, and the pace continues to stay moderate. Nobody really unhappy with this pace. Riders group back together. It looks like some folks are getting a little impatient as we stretch back out going into turn one. Like somebody wanted to maybe go and 4 other people said, we'll go with you. Nobody wants to sit on the front too long and do work, so just kind of slow back up as we come back around the home straight. Group gets cemented back together with 5 to go. Kathleen Laporte looks around for a place to just slide back into what is now a pace line. Trish Albert says, yep, you go right ahead. Heads start to swivel with 4 to go, looking for what the next attack is going to be. Group continues to stay compacted together. Riders taking half lap pulls because even though we're not going terribly fast, you're still pulling people around. It's not fun to be on the front. Annalise is back on the front now, looking around with 3 to go. Pulls off, lets her teammate take over. Tries to slide back in a little bit more towards the front. Nobody wants to go pull off and go back to the back now because it's way too far to come if somebody attacks on the front. And with only about 2 1/4 laps to go, that gets a little bit more dangerous to be hanging around the back. We've seen a couple attacks go from 2 laps out. In fact, here comes one right now, as Kathleen Laporte says, well, maybe I'm going to go over the top. A lot of riders respond to that. Doesn't really go anywhere. Annalise's teammate cranks up the pace. Kathleen drops right in behind her with Annalise on her wheel. We're going to be coming around for the 2 to go now, or bell lap, excuse me, bell lap. The pace is fairly high, and Annalise says, I think I'm interested in maybe going from a lap out. Riders on the back straight, stay low. If you're being lapped, riders are coming up on you, stay low. Annalise leads them right over the top and comes around up the home straight. Kathleen sitting on her wheel, happy to take second. Men's sprinters, please report to the ready area. Heat number 1. Nick and Lemin, please report to the ready area. Heat number 2 on deck. Jamie and Daryl, you're on deck. Please bring holders if you got them. All right, folks, this is what you all came to see. Some real high power sprinting. We've got a family affair here on one end with Nick's dad carrying his bike up, and we have a coachee affair on the other bike. Aaron Young and his talented pupil, Lemin Wright. Lemon has drawn the bottom position and will have to lead at least a walking pace until the 200-meter line. Winner will advance to the final to race for first and second. And we roll out and takes an immediate look back, see what Nick's doing. Goes right under and tries to control the race from the bottom. One thing to look for here, folks, is the difference in pedaling speed. Nick is on about a 12,482-inch gear. Lemon's on a slightly smaller gear. We'll be pedaling rapidly. So we have some competing ideas here. One rider, by nature of their gear, is going to be a little snappier. The other rider is going to have a better top end because he's got more gear inches. Lemon decides to lead it out, hits the lane. Nick's cruising along behind him. I don't think I would have done that if I was Lemon, but this is how you learn as a beginning sprinter. He's really fast, but he's probably not going to be able to hold Nick off here because of the nature of Nick's gear, having just a ton of gear and being faster. Great effort by both riders, both showing off what you do when you have the gear that you chose. Our other men's semifinal pits Crafty against Witty. Jamie Carney on the bottom has been doing this since forever. I first met Jamie in 1988, racing up at T-Town. Daryl is a fixture here at Dick Lane Velodrome. Jamie will lead the first half lap. I wonder if we're going to see a track stand again. Daryl says, maybe not. I'll go to the front. Jamie showing some tactical acumen here and just letting a bit of a gap develop while the race is slow. No harm there. It gives you something to run up into as a sprinter. If you're too close to the rider you're following, you've got no room to accelerate before you try to pass the rider. You get the bell. Daryl's looking around to see what Jamie's going to do. My guess is Jamie wants this race to be as short as possible. And he's going to try to keep it slow until late in the race. Daryl's in a very disadvantaged position here. The only thing he can do is slow down. Jamie accelerates. Daryl is right on his wheel and is just going to try and cruise over the top. Looks like he might have the speed to do it. And he does. Advancing into the finals, Jamie we'll see Jamie again in the 3-4 final against Lemon. Women are up for sprinting. Women, Annalise Ostrike and Kathleen Laporte, you are up to race. Jenna Davis and Sloan Fletcher, you are on deck. Annalise and Kathleen, please report to the ready area. Amen. Attention, amen. A riders, men, you have a 10-lap scratch race coming up after the women's semifinals. Amen. 10-lap scratch race. Riders received their instruction. Kathleen has worked her way back up into the sprint tournament through the repechage twice now. This will be her second race against Annalise. Will she try something different this time? Attention men sprinters, your finals pairings are going up now. Kathleen keeps Annalise pinned up above her against the boards. Roll around slowly, and we're going to get the bell. Who's going to get antsy first? You're both out of the saddle accelerating, but not terribly hard. Annalise goes over the top, a little not harder than Kathleen, who lets her take the front. Content for now to sit in her draft as she marshals her resources. Can she? Here she goes. She stands up and tries to go, but Annalise just has too much. Come through and advance into our 1-2 final. See them both again in the finals. Annalise racing in the 1-2 final, Kathleen racing in the 3-4. Attention, men's A riders, men's A riders. You have a 10-lap scratch race next, immediately after this sprint heat. Sloan and Jenna roll off. This is the last semifinal heat for our women. Winner will advance into the finals. Loser will revert into the 3-4. Jenna carefully keeping an eye on Sloan, slows down and tries to drive her over her. Again, we see this position a lot tonight. One rider pinned over the other. One reason why you saw Jamie Carney establish a big gap early on in the race backwards was to prevent something like this from happening. Jenna continues to control Sloan over the top of her. Sloan seems content to sit there. Jenna decides to drop back behind Sloana and go high. Sloan attacks. Jenna jumps right on her wheel and goes right back over the top. Is this going to turn into a drag race? It is. We're going to have a drag race up the home straight here as two riders fighting really hard to get to the line first, and it looks like Jenna's going to pull it out. We will see Jenna against her teammate Annalise in the finals. Men's A riders to the board. Men's A riders to the boards for a 10-lap scratch race. It's okay, Nick. I had to pee too. Goes on your head. Ladies and gentlemen, this will be a 10-lap scratch. Immediately after this 10-lap scratch race, we have the women's sprint finals. Women, be ready for your sprint final. If my scoring is right, it's going to be teammates Annalise and Jenna in the final, but that will be the second heat. Kathleen Laporte and Sloan Fletcher will ride in the first heat for 3-4. Attention women sprinters, Kathleen Laporte and Sloan Fletcher, you are our first heat. Immediately after this race, you are going to be riding for third and fourth place. Heat number 2 for the women is for first and second. That's Annalise and Jenna. Annalise and Jenna, you will be our second women's heat. Eight laps to go. A lot of our men's sprinters are racing in this race. Wonder if Aaron is out there. Two riders roll off the front and establish a 25-meter gap pretty quickly. Everybody else seems pretty content to just let the gap continue to open. It's about 35 meters now. Gap's blowing open quickly as two riders just take turns, try and drill it, win from 8 laps out. Field rolls through. Is it a coincidence that the field has a rider on the front whose teammate is in the break? Probably not. Five laps to go, and the gap has stopped growing. Looks like riders have finally gotten interested in racing behind the two off the front. The gap starts to come down a little bit. We're going to come around and get 3 to go. We don't know what the riders behind are thinking. We know what the riders out front are thinking. This is a lot of work just to let it go with 3 to go. Rider sitting right on the front. It's Jamie Carney, just kind of controlling the pace back there, but other riders are getting interested in going up. Riders are going to be getting the bell. We have a Piedmont College cycling team rider off the front. Can he hold it? Daryl Christopher says, I don't know. Look who's sitting right behind him. Man, we are going to sprint. Aaron Young says, you know what? I phoned in the sprint in the rep because one of my coaches was in there, so I'm going to show you how fast I can go by winning a 10-lap scratch race. Women's sprinters, it is time. Kathleen Laporte and Sloan Fletcher are our first heat racing for 3-4. Kathleen Laporte and Sloan Fletcher, please see the official in the ready area. On deck, Annalise Ostrike and Jenna Davis riding for first and second place. B riders. Do we still have B riders? B riders, hold your hands up. Okay, good. B riders, we have a 10-lap scratch race after the women's finals. Please be ready. And that will be C's as well. C riders are invited to race as well. B and C riders, be ready for a 10-lap scratch after the women's semifinals. Kathleen and Sloan get their instructions from the official and roll off. Kathleen has to lead for the first half lap. Kathleen is just glad to be racing somebody other than Annalise. Slow pace down the back straight with 1.5 to go. Sloan is trying not to get caught in that top position, doing that effectively so far. Sometimes that becomes a test of nerves going into the turn. How slow can you go through the turn? Sometimes the rider out front can out-nerve you into having to go over them. And Kathleen starts to wind it up from a lap out, takes the lane. Sloan jumps in on her wheel. Sloan sits there pasted to Kathleen's wheel as Kathleen continues to go. Sloan's using a lot less energy. Not an ideal way to pass, however, as they go down the back straight that turns into a drag race. Gives Kathleen time to react to her and wind back up. Here they come up the home straight. It's going to be a drag race. Who's going to get it? And it's going to be Sloan Fletcher taking third place on the night in our sprint tournament. Annalise Ostrike and Jenna Davis come up to the start-finish line for the race for first and second. Looks like Jenna has drawn the bottom position, wants to position herself fairly far up the track. Annalise is almost up at the rail. The riders are going to get their instructions. And we roll off the race for first and second. Annalise takes a second before rolling off the line so that she can't get pinched over the top right away, and then rolls over the top anyway. Jenna rolls at the blue line, watching Annalise behind her. Annalise lets a bit of a gap open up. Gaps are important as a sprinter. If you're a sprinter on the rear and you have a gap to the rider in front of you, you have space to run up into that rider's draft. It's a very effective passing and attacking technique. It also lets you wind up a little and attack from a lap and a quarter out like Annalise has just done. Annalise is the fastest rider here tonight. She knows it. She says, okay, let's take a test. I'm going to go from a lap and a quarter out and see if you can get on my wheel. Jenna's trying really hard to get back up there. Look at that effort from the rider behind, trying to get back up into that draft. She's managing to get back up there. Annalise needs to put it down now and finish hard, and she does, and takes the win in our last DLV Need for Speed Sprint tournament of 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you give them a big hand when they roll back around. That was a lot of really good sprinting tonight. Annalise, go ahead and roll through the home straight area and wave to the crowd, please. You are our winner tonight of our final DLV Need for Speed Sprint tournament. B riders and C riders, BC riders to the rail for a 10-lap scratch race. Please come to the rail for a 10-lap scratch race.
This is all know the goals from there. All together in 4. You're gonna get the
All right, I'm taking over for Steve Hill here temporarily. We've got the group getting together on their neutral lap. Well, thank you, thank you. Now, neutral doesn't necessarily mean slow, but they have to get together in turn 4 so that we can blow the whistle and start the race. Sergio out front. The other group needs to catch them, get together. It looks like they are. We're going to get a whistle here in a second. And they're off. I imagine there's going to be some feeling each other out in the early laps. We got Chuck was off the front. It looks like Michael Gibson is taking a flyer early. Max Osterreich sliding in behind him with Josh taking third. Looks like they're content to stay together, rotate off the front, taking poles and seeing who's got it. Chuck on the front again, riding high on the blue line. Looks like Jonathan DeJoya taking a flyer in the sprinter's lane. Chuck closing that gap real fast. BC category is where a lot of the riders learn tactics. You see different strategies between the BCs and the A's. Who likes to sit on the front? Who likes to sit in the pack and attack late? Chuck is content with sitting on the front, pulling the group around. Nobody seems to want to attack him. And as I say that, there goes Josh. Opening up a pretty decent sized gap. Chuck looks like he's trying to chase, but not closing him down just yet. Max Osterreich gaining some ground quickly. See if Josh can hold this off. He's got 5 laps to go. Max is trying to bridge up. Chuck is kind of holding pace. The rest of the group seems content to let them go away. Max still hasn't quite bridged up. Chuck looks like he's riding a pretty big gear, holding that gap. Josh pulls up the wall and let Max take a pull. 2 of them are going to work together the rest of the race. 3 laps to go. Chuck's still out there in no man's land. The group seems to be organizing a little in the back. Michael Gibson. Max and Josh still working together. They're going to come around, see 2 to go. Chuck's still there in no man's land. Nobody's bridged up to help him chase these guys down. The 2 juniors are off the front looking pretty good. They're entering turn 3. They're going to come around, come out of 4, and hear the bell for 1 lap to go. Can they hold it off? Looks like they've got about a 30-meter gap. They're getting the bell. And Sergio's trying to bridge up there. Max takes off. Trying to pull away from Josh. Josh is holding on for second, but Sergio looks like he's coming on strong. They come down the stretch. Like Max Osterreich's going to take it. Josh's flyer pays off with a second place. Then Sergio and the rest of the group comes across.
Thanks, Chris. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our last funnest event. The men's sprint final. Our first heat, the race for 3rd and 4th, will be Lemon Wright against Jamie Carney. And our second heat will be for 1st and 2nd place. The winner of our last sprint tournament of the year will be between Daryl and top seed Nick Ostrike. Sorry. Riders, if all 4 of you could please report to the ready area. We'll be ready for you when you get here. Chief official Gary Morgan and Jamie Carney kind of joshing around a little bit. Will be an interesting race. One of our elder statesmen of track cycling against one of DLV's new up-and-coming riders. I think they've seen each other a couple of times. Lemon rolls off, goes immediately up to the rail, and then drops back down to the blue line. Jamie positions himself almost all the way up against the boards, just matches speed, but maintains a bit of a gap. No track stands this time. And says, nope, we're not going to do slow, we're going to do quick. And with one to go, has got the pace pretty high while he's up at the rail. This might favor Lemon, who might not have the snap that Jamie has. I want you guys to watch. Jamie leaves a gap up to Lemon that he's going to now run up into as hard as he can in order to be able to try and slingshot over the top. The question will be, does Lemon have the speed to hold him off? And it looks like he does so far. Carney makes a last charge, and oh! Waiting on word from the officials for the placing. Rider 132, Jamie Carney, takes third place at the line. Big hand for these two riders. They've been putting on a good show tonight. Thanks, guys. Great sprinting. And now the main event. Balls have been drawn, positions decided. Nick says, no, way higher up the track than that. Make Daryl, like, really shy. Nick has either chosen or drawn the bottom position. I don't know which. He says he drew it. So Nick's going to lead the first half lap against double barrel Daryl Christopher. All right, so Daryl's pretty snappy here, and I don't know what gear he's on, but it's a lot smaller than Nick's. So I think what we're going to see is fast off the line here pretty quickly. And I'm betting that Nick is going to try and keep the tempo of this ride up a bit. That way, Daryl can't explode around him. And the faster Nick is going, when Daryl finally decides to try to go around him, the better off he's going to be able to handle that acceleration on that big gear. Notice how fast they're going compared to the previous ride at this point. Nick's been doing some kilo training, so he can do this pretty comfortably. And he's going to just go ahead and wind it up. And he's probably going about 85% right now and just watching Daryl between his legs to make sure Daryl doesn't do anything surprising. And then he's just going to accelerate all the way to the line, try and hold Daryl off, which he does. We will wait on official word for post-race maneuvers after the finish line. Rider 31 is warned for dangerous riding after the finish. Dangerous riding being taking your hands off the handlebars. However, the chief referee has decided not to relegate rider 31. Not my call, folks. I'm just the announcer. And that's it, folks. Hands together for our first and second place finishers. Nick Ostrike wins the last Need for Speed Sprint Tournament of 2019 at the Dick Lane Velodrome. We'll hopefully see all of you tomorrow. Racing will start at 3 o'clock with the amateur divisions, with the Pro Series races starting just before 6. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow night. My commentator cohort will be here tomorrow, so you won't have to listen to just me. Riders, please see the officials for payouts in about 10 minutes. Thank you.